YouTube, what's going on? Today when I opened YouTube, I saw that let's actually zoom in this time. Summoning Salt uploaded a video of the history of Cuphead world records. Summoning Salt's videos are always amazing. Cuphead is crazy, so I'm sure this is going to be awesome. And this is absolutely take one of this recording. Now we're going to press this. That Mario Kart one? Which one? Wii or Double Dash?
That may
They're all
viewers with photosensitive epilepsy. Viewer discretion is advised.
Trying to be careful.
Cuphead is a hard video game. Like, a really, really hard game.
How's the audio? Is it good?
Fighting boss after boss, each one harder than the last.
That looks like it's
work your way
where I want it.
Islands. All the while,
down a little bit. That should be good.
Attacks.
Audio's good. All right, thank you.
Get hit more than a couple times, and you're dead.
This game is so hard.
One of the toughest gaming experiences I've ever had. And
also,
yet,
shout out to Ray when he just decided, like day one, that he A+ every boss in like 10.5 hours. I don't even think I beat the game in 10.5 hours. No, I think it took me like twice as long.
There are people who speedrun it and make the game look
and he had his bit. Remember, he had his bit jar on his head, so he was a Cuphead.
2017, Cuphead has had a big speedrunning scene. These guys race each other to beat the game as fast as humanly possible. They use tricks, glitches, and countless other techniques to fly through the game. And it is a punishing speedrun. One piece of bad luck, one accidental hit, and your run can come crashing down. The world record speedrun has had lots of competition, and over the years it is completely transformed. This is the history of Cuphead world records.
One Piece skull emoji. The crazy part is like 3 hours of that playthrough is just the queen being the dragon. You know what's weird? I found the dragon was easier on expert difficulty because I think it reverses the direction and it just
And now a word from this video sponsor, War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive video combat game ever made. And
we're watching this. Somebody saw Get Your Money, bro.
Free on PC, console, and mobile devices. The customization is amazing.
Dude, his music's always so good.
Tanks, planes, helicopters,
people really love that game. Hell yeah, everybody did.
They're as old as biplanes and armored cars of the
that was one of those games that I raged the whole time, and then when I was done, I was like, okay, that was dope.
The detailed vehicles, combat, and graphics really make you feel right at the helm of your vehicle.
When I played Cuphead,
what's cool about War Thunder is there's a game style for you no matter what type of game.
He did play Dark Souls,
there's the
Sam.
fast-paced matches of arcade, the
he played
authenticity
Sekiro
of simulator, and the middle ground option.
I loved it. I think
however you want to play,
Platinum did or 1K did or wanted. I think 1K did wanted to
playing War Thunder.
Is it
to play for free on PC, console, or mobile? Click on my links in the pinned comments or video
War Thunder spams the store with 30 versions every day.
Those who haven't played in 6 months get a massive bonus pack on PC and console. It includes multiple
Summoning Salt always has such good music.
The exclusive vehicle decorator, Eagle of Valor, 100.
Is this like a World of Tanks where they just constantly update it?
Thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, when I played Cuphead, it took me fucking forever. Like I said, I struggled so hard. I remember the day I beat it. Like I beat it at night on stream or whatever.
Cuphead was released in late
the next day I was sick as a dog. I stayed home, so I was like, let me play expert while I'm home and it's fresh in my mind, and I one-shotted and destroyed it.
Older, as it was typically a generation rediscovering.
After struggling so long, I just destroyed it.
Cuphead was different. Within days of its release, speedrunners were all over it.
And
famous players.
It was the first time I've ever had an achievement relock itself.
World records in
it was
the game's main
0 gamer score.
All boss.
Here, it was 0 gamer score. But you needed it to get the completion. I remember watching the Mexican runner actually play this game. And I got the completion, then the achievement relocked itself, and so I was missing an achievement, and it took 5 days to fix. I've still never seen that before. I was like, what the fuck is that? What?
Within days
I've seen achievements not pop, but one relock?
All over it. Famous players like Distortion 2 and the Mexican runner set world records in the game's main category, all bosses.
That's true, Sam. You like just need to beat it.
Cuphead speedruns became a viral sensation. It was a run.
Early speedrun, there was a crazy
allowing speedrunners to beat bosses in a fraction of the time.
Yeah, there was a lot of glitches. I think you could like just keep switching weapons or something.
One trick, the weapon swap glitch. In Cuphead, you equip 2 weapons that you can switch between. Each weapon has a cooldown that limits how fast each bullet comes out. For instance, the lobber has a bullet that comes out every 21 frames. Now initially, this cooldown
I had a
was
hork.
global,
Did you want to
meaning
hear it?
After firing the lobber, you could switch to your secondary weapon and fire that, and the lobber's 21 frame
want to hear me
cooldown would still be
hawk-a-loogie?
active. You could just switch between weapons over and over and fire much faster than normal.
I remember that.
This was the weapon swap glitch, and it
those
allowed you
early
to completely
days?
obliterate bosses.
That's the only
even
time I watched the
skipping certain
speedrun.
phases of the fight. It was a thriving speedrun community, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Because on December 1st,
There's damage boosting?
the
Interesting.
developers released a patch that devastated some Cuphead speedrunners. They fixed several glitches that speedrunners used, but the
I saw
most
an Enter the
important
Gungeon
change
run like
was the
that
weapon
because
cooldown went from being global
the criminal
to
or
only
whatever her
being
name
active
is
when the weapon was out. This destroyed the weapon swap glitch.
at
as you
half
could
a heart
only
she does
build
more damage.
cooldown on one weapon
So
at
the
a
dude just
time.
let himself get hit.
The ultimate result
Or
was
one
the
heart or
leaderboard
whatever?
being split into two categories: a legacy version, where
I
you
know,
play on
Sam.
the original version with weapon swap glitch, and version 1.1, where you play on the patched version. Both are still speedran
Interesting.
today, but at this point, the more popular category is 1.1, and that's what we're going to focus on. So,
see.
our story begins in
Yeah,
early
Enter the
December
Gungeon is like the
2017,
convict or whatever.
with the news of the patch still
It
resonating
just
throughout
went down
the
to like one
community.
heart so they do more damage.
While
That means
players
that
and
if you get hit,
moderators
you're
were still
fucked.
busy debating how the patch would impact the categories and rules, a few decided to try speedrunning the patched version to see what they could get. The first to put in a serious attempt was a player named Alpha Kong, the 51st ranked speedrunner on the unpatched
51
version.
difference, baby.
His run had a lot of deaths, and was only the record for one day. On December 3rd, a 13-minute improvement was performed by a player
13
named
minutes.
Luigi 100. Luigi was a record holder in various side categories on the pre-patch version of Cuphead. Compared to that, 1.1 had very few glitches available, so they were banned outright for 1.1, and the category was named Glitchless. A lot of YouTube commenters don't like glitches, and prefer to see games played as they were originally
Fork of the game, what does that mean?
and Luigi kind of agreed. He was excited to try running the game in a cleaner, less broken way. On December 3rd, he set a world record of 36:57.
An alternate
to
build?
understand this run, we first need to understand
Okay, so like how they do
the
1.1 or
framework for
Legacy?
Cuphead speedrun. The goal
I
of
figured you
Cuphead
have
is
to mod
make
the
your
game
way
to do
through the
that.
3 aisles before ultimately defeating the devil at the end.
I didn't realize it's an actual
One very
thing.
important concept is the weapons you choose to use. In Cuphead, you start with the pea shooter, but can purchase
Or
other
like you
weapons
just
that deal
download the game but don't
variety of
update it or
damage,
whatever.
travel in different patterns, and have different ranges.
You can even do that on digital
Each
games?
weapon also has an EX attack, a special which deals more damage. Using an EX attack costs a card, earned by damaging enemies or parrying pink projectiles. You purchase weapons with coins, which
That's
are mainly
awesome if that's true,
collected
Sam,
in
because obviously on
running
console you can't do
stages.
that, right? The only way
These
you
are
could do that
side-scrolling
is
levels that
install the game
appear in addition
offline
to the traditional boss
and hope that
fights.
you could play it
You
offline.
don't need to play running guns to beat the game.
And that way you're on
but
a
they can be
1.0.
very valuable to unlock different weapons. So, speedrunners have a tough decision to make. Is it worth it to waste time playing running guns so that you can purchase different weapons? Well, Luigi opted to start his run by playing two of them, Forest Follies and Treetop Trouble. He used those coins to purchase the weapons Spread and Charge. Spread offers the highest damage per second in the game, but
I
with
used
a
that.
very short
I used that, and I think that
Charge has
I
one
think I
big
used
benefit.
boomerang and I shot it
Many
backwards
fights have
because it
periods in
hit
them where the
more
boss
coming
can't
back.
be damaged, so with
So I would,
Charge
like,
you can
shoot
use that
out the
time to charge
screen.
up a shot. Then the instant the boss is vulnerable again, you'll be able to deal more damage than with any other weapon.
Oh shit.
Now, as for the boss fights themselves, the very first one, the Root Pack, is a great example for the rest of the game. Each boss fight is broken up into different phases. Once you damage the boss enough, it triggers a cue to move
You
into the
ruined my
next
life for like
phase.
3 days
In the
straight.
Root Pack, phase 1 involves fighting a potato while he shoots projectiles.
There's
at
a secret
you.
boss here. I
Luigi
didn't
runs right
know
up next to him
until
and pelts him with Spread.
long
Nice
after the
and
game that
easy.
they're
He's
just hidden
defeated after
bosses.
a few seconds.
I think it's like if you
Phase
take
2
too
is the
long.
Onion.
There's like
Luigi
a
begins
radish
by
or something?
shooting EX attacks just as he spawns in, then he continues pelting him with Spread until he's defeated. Finally, phase 3 is the Carrot. He jumps up and shoots charge
Interesting, Sam.
EXs, while strategically taking
Like
damage
going to
on
old
certain
drivers.
projectiles so he doesn't have to reposition himself. This is the easiest fight in the whole game, but it gives you an idea of how runners switch weapons and use EX attacks. Absolutely everything is planned out ahead of time, and runners know exactly what they're going to try to do.
That was so
Luigi
nuts.
continued this playstyle all throughout the different boss fights. Since this was his first run of the category, he sometimes pulled back and didn't go for the quickest kills, opting instead to try and stay alive. He tended to overuse charge by staying back, rather than getting close with spread. After finishing all 3 aisles, there are 2 more fights in the game.
God, his music
King
is so
Dice
good.
And the Devil. We'll talk about the Devil later, but for now I want to show you how Luigi handled the very unique King Dice. In this fight, you're dropped onto a game board and have to roll.
I remember there's a specific path I would go to because it was like so much easier.
Determines the mini boss you fight, and there's also free spaces you can land on without fighting anybody.
Yeah.
Because of the spacing on the board, you're forced to fight at least 3 mini bosses before reaching the end, where you fight King Dice himself.
So you choose all the fastest ones?
Which 3 did Luigi want to fight? Well, he went with the 2-4-8 route, which speedrunners had done since the game's launch. This was a very safe, but still very fast route that fought Chips Bedigan, Pip and Dot, and Mangosteen.
I think that's what I used when I was
and landed either
playing as
charge or
well.
spread shots. Then by the time he fought King Dice, he'd built up 5 cards so he could unload EX attacks and end the fight fast. Just a couple minutes later, Luigi finished up the run, a final time of 36:57. This was the first somewhat optimized record of 1.1, but this was still a brand new category in a popular speed game. And over the next few weeks, things were gonna get hectic. It started on December 11th, when a runner named Soulreth broke the record twice in one day. Soulreth was a pretty big Twitch streamer and was notable for being the first person to ever beat the game without taking any damage. Now playing on the patched version, he first got a 39-second improvement, then took another 10 seconds off. Luigi was
if you want to see what he looks like,
cheering him on.
Yo! Thanks, Luigi. Dude, you're really cool. Thanks for stopping in the chat and just like supporting this. You're awesome, man.
Soulreth's time save mainly came from being more aggressive, not backing away quite as much as Luigi. Over the next few days, Luigi came back and beat the world record twice, first to 34:18, then to 33:52. The second of these runs was notable because he skipped both running guns at the start. This meant that he only had the coins to purchase spread and nothing else. He essentially traded out the ability to use charge for a 2-minute time save at the start of the run. It meant Luigi had to get right up close with the bosses, no more standing back with charge. After this was a formerly lost world record. The Twitch VOD was deleted and it wasn't included on speedrun.com, but it was rediscovered during the making of this video.
This boss is a motherfucker.
39 set by TMR. TMR is a speedrunning legend. He was a former world record holder in big classic NES games like Contra and Battletoads.
Didn't he beat every single NES game?
But when Cuphead was released in 2017, he came back with a second act.
I think
he was one of the best early Cuphead speedrunners, repeatedly setting the world record. And after 1.1 came out, he decided to give it a try.
Yeah, he's
Probably
dope.
The biggest change
he's a really cool guy.
was going
he seems really nice.
3-4-8 on King Dice rather than 2-4-8. Space 2 was Chips Bedigan, and it's easy to miss shots here like Luigi did. Instead, Space 3 is
no,
I
used this guy.
He's just out of range to hit with spread at the start, so TMR had to land a steady stream of the pea shooter. But in the next phase, he's super close, so TMR pelted him with spread. He even intentionally took damage to get iframes, allowing him to walk through and behind the boss's hitbox to safely fire more spread. Not even a day later, another record was set by a player named K-Prime. Much like TMR, K-Prime was a pre-patch record holder who decided to try running the game on 1.1. The bulk of his improvement over TMR came on one boss, Grim Matchstick. This fight has randomly generated clouds that you have to jump on while damaging the boss.
I think everybody could agree, like for the most part, oh no, I would say a majority of players would say the hardest are him and the robot.
Him to enter the dragon's hitbox and repeatedly EX attack to finish him off, saving 13 seconds.
Holy fuck.
The next record came on Christmas Eve 2017. It was Luigi striking once more, with a 32:55. And this run shows the true difference between Luigi and runners like TMR or K-Prime. For the latter group, their true passion and interest was with Legacy, where you could perform crazy glitches and obliterate certain fights.
What he called Hater Percent, where he does the game S plus no hit all P shooter. Holy
moving
fuck.
Back to Legacy. But Luigi genuinely preferred 1.1 over Legacy. He liked not being able to cheese any of the fights, having to play them all straight up. This is why Luigi was able to reclaim the 1.1 record time and time again. It was his true passion, not just a side project. In under a month since the patch came out, runners had taken the record down to 32 minutes. There was frantic activity, with nearly every high-level runner playing.
Most of us
finally
couldn't even beat like a hard boss in 32 minutes or like aisle 1.
Down a bit. And entering the first couple months of 2018,
saying for sure.
The record stayed put.
A game like Cuphead glitchless is definitely more interesting because it's just you have to be so fucking good. Like obviously it's a lot of memorization and muscle memory and stuff.
Record was still
but there is when there's like the random factors and everything.
Most interest in 1.1 and had gone back to playing the more popular category Legacy. But one runner hadn't made his grand appearance yet. He'd been lurking in the background, watching when the patch was released in December. He found it fascinating to watch players route the game without any glitches, and he wanted to join in.
I love when somebody just comes out of nowhere and it's like a problem.
A Discord account, or anything he could use to collaborate with other runners. He was too shy. After the 32:55 in late December, the category seemed to be quiet, but in reality, he was playing offline without telling anybody. And eventually, he found himself good enough to be challenging the world record. Now, he had to decide what to do. Should he reveal himself to the community, or stay in the background while others competed? Well, that came further into question on February 6th, 2018, because he set a new world record of 32:51. He was only doing this
I like the blocked out camera, like it's just a black box.
But since this was a world record, he knew what he had to do now. He made accounts on speedrun.com, Twitch, and Discord, and SBD Wolf showed off to the community what he had done. Over the next few weeks, SBD Wolf and Luigi traded the world record back and forth. It was extremely impressive that this newcomer had shown up out of nowhere and was now able to challenge the category's best runner. Heck, he did more than just challenge Luigi. He was beating him time and time again. Luigi would set a new record, but within days, SBD Wolf always took it back. Eventually, he took the record down to a 31:52. How was SBD Wolf doing this? Well, as it turned out, he was actually using a technique across the whole run that gave him an advantage. Something so subtle that neither SBD Wolf nor anybody else in the community even realized he was doing it. A trick that would later be known as Calava swaps. If you do an EX attack on a ground level, your weapon stops firing from the time you press the button until the time the EX animation is complete. But if you swap your weapon during this period, the game lets you continue shooting your weapon while the EX animation plays. The game resets this when the EX shot comes out, at the midway point of the EX animation. So to fire throughout the entire...
Yeah, I was just gonna say, sometimes the glitch having runs hard as hell too.
Before the midpoint,
so it depends.
After the midpoint.
But for Cuphead, I like just watching
during the second
normal
half of the animation. But it's worth it if you can do it. It helped to make faster cycles on bosses. Brinybeard, for instance, thanks to Calava swaps, he was able to one-cycle the final phase, meaning he avoided the laser where you can't deal damage for a bit. Across the whole run, SBD Wolf was saving about 15 seconds over Luigi, and nobody had any clue. The trick was formally found by a runner named Calava a couple months later, and that's when SBD Wolf realized what he'd been doing. He pressed EX and then switched weapons so that he could fire his original weapon for slightly longer, without realizing this was also allowing him to keep firing during the EX animation. So, without the knowledge of why SBD Wolf was going so much faster, Luigi played to try and get the record back. Around this time, he was joined by another runner, Calava, the namesake of Calava swaps. Much like SBD Wolf, Calava had slowly gotten better in the background, inching closer and closer to the 1.1 world record. Both runners played extensively in March and April 2018, and on April 3rd,
it's already been
both Luigi
at least 7 years. Holy
ended up
shit!
Breaking the record. Neither world record was a particularly substantial improvement, but it made it so that the previous 3 records were each set by a different player. Then just a few days later, Luigi got a bigger record, 31:42. One of the biggest
10 seconds?
in this
Holy
run
fuck.
came on Rumor Honeybottoms. As usual, there's
she's
3
brutal.
phases here, and Luigi beautifully executed his game plan through them all.
Definitely one of the
Phase
hardest.
1 is the security bee. You get up close and hit him with spread. It's important to kill him before he reaches the left side of the screen, since once you kill him, he flies off screen in the direction he's traveling. Then in phase 2, Rumor herself comes out, and she has 3 attacks she can randomly start with.
Okay, because
The
otherwise he
B-missile,
flies
the
back.
orbs, or the triangles. She went with the orbs, and Calva got some bad luck with the
People are
platforms.
still running right now for sure.
The platforms usually have one randomly not spawn in per row, and it made it so that Calva had to retreat and not damage Rumor for several seconds. Luigi got better luck with the platforms and had a very clean fight, finishing off Rumor very quickly in phase 3.
Yeah, I'm
and
sure
saving
people
about
still
8
love
seconds.
running and watching this
Probably
game.
the best split in his entire run. Then a couple weeks later, it happened again. Both
I mean, it's
Luigi
Cuphead, right?
and Calva set world records on the same day. This time it was Calva first with a 31:36. Then a few hours later, Luigi got an amazing run of 31:16.
Holy, 20
This
seconds?
was easily the cleanest run of the game so far. He'd implemented Calva swaps by now, and was saving more time with them across the run.
The Calva swaps remind me of the
Calva
Tetris.
and Luigi pushing each other, the world
I don't remember what
record
it was called, but
implemented
where they
fast.
would like jiggle
But
the
this
controller,
31:16 by Luigi was a pretty impressive
like tap the
run.
back so that
No major mistakes
hit the
throughout
buttons
all
faster.
19 bosses. There's a good chance that it would have stood for several weeks, even months, as it was now 20
That
seconds
Tetris
ahead
video
of
was
second
fucking
place.
crazy.
But that's not what happened. Because on May 2nd, 2018, a major shift was made on the Cuphead leaderboard. Up until now, there were 2 main categories, All Bosses and All Bosses Glitchless. In All Bosses, you play on the old version and do whatever tricks you want. In All Bosses Glitchless, you play on the 1.1 patch and all glitches are banned. This initially worked out pretty well because the developers seem to have done a great job patching out all glitches from 1.1. But now, 6 months after the patch, players had really torn apart version 1.1, and they discovered that maybe
That's
this
true. I
wasn't
guess
such a
also
glitch-free
people like take
patch
apart the
after
code
all.
and shit, right? Like,
So they decided to redo
not
the
necessarily
categories.
data miners, but
Instead
people
of all bosses and all
look at the
bosses
code and
glitchless,
try to
everything
find
was
stuff
now
that way.
just all bosses, and there was a subcategory denoting if you were playing on the old version or 1.1. Glitches were now allowed on both versions of the game, and as of May 2018, there were now a few new tricks that players were able to implement in their 1.1 speedruns. First, a simple one, shop glitch. Normally, to buy items in the shop, you press confirm to buy them and then press back to exit the shop. However, if you press confirm and back on the same frame, you can exit the shop while the purchase animation plays.
oh
In addition,
shit.
you can even buy a second item while the screen fades out back to the map. It saves a few seconds, was found shortly after the game's release, and now it was available for 1.1 speedruns. Another trick was on the second boss of the run, Ribby and Croaks. First, we need to understand a concept called overdamage. We already know that
this
boss
is how you
fights are
skip
broken up
phases and
into
stuff?
different phases, but importantly, even though each phase is triggered by an amount of damage, the fight usually won't transition to that phase until the boss is done with whatever move or attack they're doing. And the damage you do during that time counts as damage in the next phase. You can make certain phases much shorter, or in some cases, even skip phases altogether. This is
That's
known
so
as
crazy.
overdamaging the boss. Enter the Ribby and Croaks Super Skip, a trick involving overdamage that lets you skip phase 2 of the fight. It was long known to be possible on the pre-patch version, but lack of weapon swap glitch on 1.1 seemed to make it impossible. But in March 2018, a player named Jumper N found a way to do it. You get the frog
I love how
on
there's
the cusp
always
of transitioning past
all these
phase
new people
1,
coming into
then
the mix
instant
in
they
all of
begin
these
an
videos.
attack that
It's
they
so
must
sick.
finish before transitioning, you unload a barrage of spread fire and EXs into a precise spot where their hitboxes overlap. You also damage boost inside
Oh,
of
shit,
their
so you're hitting
hitbox for better
both of them.
damage. If all is done properly, you do enough damage to end phase 2 before it begins. Instead of separating
So you're
from
hitting
phase
both
2,
of them and you're getting
they roll
double
into
damage,
each other
essentially.
and turn straight into the slot machine for phase 3. It saves time by skipping a transition animation, about 8 seconds. The fact that 1.1 runners were now allowed to do all this and more was very exciting, and it was enough to bring SBD Wolf back to running the category. He knew that Ribby and Croaks was going to be a huge reset point. It was just the second fight in the run, but getting the super skip required both good RNG and difficult execution. He decided that whenever he missed it, he'd just reset the run. He felt the 8 seconds were that important. It was tough having to reset early so often, but it eventually paid off. On May 6th, SBD Wolf got the first sub 31 in Cuphead 1.1's
Oh man,
history.
just.
SBD Wolf didn't intend to improve the run any further, since Ribby and Croak's super skip made the category frustrating to play. But a couple months later, he accidentally did. While practicing for a tournament, SBD Wolf set a new world record of 30-50.
But it's interesting how patching a game now has those for and those against.
Called Luigi swaps.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the devs, like,
swaps,
if it's a glitch, they don't want it.
EX
like,
on the flying
usually.
levels. But unlike Calibur swaps, you must press EX and fire on the same
Unless
frame.
they're like, okay, the only people doing this are speedrunners, so like let them have it.
With a 30-47, followed a short while later by SBD Wolf reclaiming it with a 30-45.
Like I could get as a dev, you want your game to work as flawlessly as it possibly can.
Into implementing a new trick.
But it makes sense how runners, obviously,
was still a new thing.
If it fucks you over, you're not gonna like it.
Figure out which glitches from Legacy could be adapted to 1.1, and everyone knew there was a white whale. One glitch from Legacy that would be more valuable than any other. If they could find a way to make this one work without weapon swap glitch, it would be the biggest time save in the run. This is Beppy glitch.
Beppy glitch.
Midway through the second aisle is a boss called Beppy the Clown.
Yeah, Sam, but I mean, obviously, the level that they're playing at is like,
damage him and skip
you and I wouldn't do this shit, you know, so it doesn't really matter.
Beppy moves back and forth and then slides across to the other side of the screen and hits the wall.
But it's
repeating this pattern over
like
and over.
weapon swap.
Once you've damaged him
it'd be easy
enough,
to figure out, and when you do figure out, it makes the game way
across the
easier.
screen,
So they want
instead
to get
of
rid of
turning
it.
around, you'll fall off the bottom. That's the trigger to begin phase 2.
Oh shit!
And it's the perfect spot to over damage him. Beppy doesn't transition to phase 2 until after he slides across and falls off the screen. So you want to deal almost enough damage to trigger phase 2, then the instant he slides and hits the wall, start shooting him and deal enough damage to pass the next phase trigger before he slides and falls off the screen. If done properly, phase 2 never ends, and the game gets
free
confused.
money!
Beppy's phase 2 death sprite loads in.
Free money,
but the
to give it
fight
the
is
75
actually
months,
in
that's
phase
3/4 of
and
a
his
century.
hitbox
It is.
active
Thanks,
the
lad, for the
entire
75-month
He
Prime
stays in this glitch
gaming
state
sub.
for the rest of the fight, so you
Does
end
it
up
still say
skipping both
Prime?
the phase 3 and phase 4 transition animations.
Sub
now
with
on the
Prime.
Legacy version, Beppy glitch was very doable.
Thanks for the
to
Luna
weapon swap
standard
glitch,
sub.
You could deal enough damage before the transition to phase 2. But when
Appreciate it,
1.1
homie.
came out, that seemed to mark the end of Beppy glitch. Until SBD Wolf managed to hit it with a spread and pea shooter combo in June 2018. As soon as Beppy hit the wall on the right side of the screen, SBD Wolf unloaded everything he had into him, taking him out as he slid back to the left. It was also random. Beppy needed to avoid sliding for as long as possible to deal enough damage. But as hard as this all was, Beppy glitch was officially possible on 1.1. And it was a 20-second time save if SBD Wolf could get it.
Hold on PS4 and Xbox have a glitch that could make players invincible. It was never patched out of those games. It was on PC.
A 20-second time save would leave runners just
not hard to do.
25 seconds away from an enormous milestone, the sub 30. However, actually pulling this off in a run was going to be a big ask. On August 27th, SBD Wolf had a run that was a bit behind midway through, but with a 20-second time save potential on Beppy, he knew this was recoverable. No luck. Beppy slid too soon, so there was no time to deal enough damage. That being said, he followed this up with the fastest Grim matchstick he'd ever played in a run.
Falling in water makes you vulnerable.
As a small world
Falling
record.
in water kills you,
Yet,
though.
he barely even cared.
Nice.
He cared so little, in fact, that he kept his stream going. And a couple hours later, he had another run. This was a significantly better pace into Beppy, a huge opportunity to try and get the glitch.
I didn't know
Once
that.
again, SBD Wolf set up Beppy's damage, unloaded at him at the right moment.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the only water I came across was like acid. But what is my?
Again.
Never mind.
Not only did he not,
my phone disconnects from my watch often.
Lost 7 seconds. Yet it was a repeat of the last run. He had an excellent Grim matchstick, golded Rumor Honey Bottoms,
Why you do this?
and took a lead late into the game.
Alright. Sub 30-30, very nice.
This was a pretty big one. The first ever sub 30-30.
You're so chill about it. right?
He could
Just
hit
like
Beppy glitch.
whatever. It's a
That alone
Tuesday.
was a 30-second time save over the split in this record. No other top-level players were actively playing. This was his milestone to reach. The next day, it was a familiar situation. SBD Wolf kept it close through aisle 1 with a chance to pull way ahead on Beppy, if he could get the glitch.
Got nothing.
This time, he got a good pattern, but messed it up by getting something runners call a nothing. When doing a Calva swap, if you weapon swap on the exact frame the EX attack is supposed to come out, the EX attack gets cancelled and never comes out. So, it was the same story again.
Mickey, true.
No Beppy glitch, but
Oh,
he
that
played well in
sucks.
the late game and pulled off yet another world record. So he was lowering the record, but this particular run felt about as good as it was going to get without Beppy glitch. He really needed it for sub 30.
That's also
It was
I've
just
been liking
never
this thing.
happening.
It's handy.
Maybe he needed
No pun
a different
intended.
approach.
Like
Part of
yesterday when I was at the
problem was
doctor,
Beppy needed to stay still for long enough
I
to
don't have to
deal
pull up
with
my phone to
damage.
see text and
But
shit.
it
It's like,
turns
okay,
out,
this I like
Beppy's
it.
delays here aren't fully random. They're only partially random. He has 10 possible delays, and they always occur in order, but the starting point in this sequence is random. This is how most RNG works in the game. You can technically predict what a boss is going to do next if you're able to identify where you are in the RNG sequence. So, SBD Wolf realized he could apply the concept to Beppy glitch. If he could identify where Beppy was in his pattern after the first 2 delays, he could identify if the 3rd delay would be long enough to do Beppy glitch. If it wasn't, he could wait 1 or 2 more cycles to do Beppy glitch, losing a bit of time but still saving time overall. This clever idea gave him a much bigger chance of hitting Beppy glitch.
People are crazy.
And the very next day after discovering it, SBD Wolf did this.
Whoa.
There you go.
Problem with Absolute Radiance, he had a Word document with all of the tech for the boss. Bro.
Very nice.
2946.
This
Oh.
was such a satisfying run for SBD Wolf. He hit Beppy glitch by recognizing his pattern. His hard work had paid off.
He beat the
He
record by
was
almost
able to
30
use it to
seconds.
get the first sub 30 in Cuphead history. Congratulations flooded in from the community. It was by far the biggest milestone in 1.1's history, and SBD Wolf was now in first place by a full minute.
That's disgusting. The lobber. Got a
Given all the
2946 in your
activity,
alt?
It's easy to forget, but at this point Cuphead wasn't
I got a
even hero.
2649
And yet, version 1.1 had already seen 27
on
world
the
records.
Switch version.
Hardly a month ever passed without a new record, as runner after runner came along.
I remember that I bought this game on Switch
now that the
because I was
sub
like,
30
maybe
was
I'll like
achieved, things
100% it again in
finally
case they
slowed
add Xbox
Compared
achievements.
to the
And
previous 9
I was
months,
dog shit
the
again.
fall of 2018 was a very quiet period for Cuphead speedruns. Through all
Maybe I'll
of
play it off
September,
stream, though.
October, and November,
Eventually.
no new world
I
records
won't.
were
I will.
set.
Maybe? I don't know.
SBD Wolf's stranglehold on the leaderboard was too strong, and it stayed that way until something big happened in late 2018. To understand the next chapter in Cuphead's history, we have to look at the 7th place runner, a player named Grondius.
Grandius.
Careful viewers may have seen his name earlier in this video. Grond got into Cuphead speedruns in the spring of 2018. Just another person who played the game shortly after its release, loved it, and decided to pursue speedrunning it.
Oh, I like how he
By
does
that
his splits on
summer,
the
he
top.
moved
I've never
into
seen
the
that
top
before.
10. He was a good player, but not really a threat to the world record. But even if his skills
That's
weren't
interesting.
there, Grond was a very creative runner, always looking for new ways to go faster. And in November 2018, while stuck inside due to a snowstorm, Grond started messing with a radical
Okay,
new
Sam, so
idea.
like
He wanted to
dissected the
throw out
patterns
the
and
current
shit?
run and reroute the entire game with a new weapon combination, Lobber and Spread. This was an interesting duo. We already know that Spread does a ton of damage.
Actually, I
but
think
with a
I
very
did that
short
for a bit.
range.
Although I think I like
Lobber
had
also
looked up.
deals great damage and was
Yeah, I
particularly
used it on, like, the
intriguing
dragon,
because
that's
of its
it.
EX attack, which has an unintended mechanic: double damage Lobber EXs. A Lobber EX normally does 28 damage. However, if it hits the ground, the game accidentally creates splash damage twice. So if a boss is within range, it'll deal 56 damage to the boss. It's also possible to hit a precise spot on some bosses where the Lobber EX explodes and the boss is hit by both double splash damage and direct impact, dealing a total of 3 times normal damage. However, even if you do it correctly, this only works half the time. But this double damage mechanic, combined with spread, could be extremely powerful. The problem is that in order to purchase Lobber, you need more coins, and that means having to play a run and gun at the start, Forest Follies, which takes an extra 50 seconds. So if Grond could manage to save at least 50 seconds with Lobber, then it would be worth it. Grond got to work. He found that doing Calva swaps with a Lobber EX
I feel like I had like watched
close was a
speedruns
combo. He had
for
to figure out
fun,
new routes,
and then I was like, I might as well use what they're using.
And the more he played, the more he was
shit
able
like this.
to reap
But I remember the
benefits
Lobber
from
for the dragon. It was really really good.
SBD
The second phase with the little fire, like the little
2018.
flames.
He was losing 50 seconds at the start of the run, but making up a chunk of that time across the remainder. Not worth it yet, but if he kept looking, he thought he could close the rest of the gap. And he kept finding new stuff. For Beppy Glitch, with the old weapon combo, you'd sometimes have to wait 4 or 5 cycles to get the right pattern, but with Lobber and Spread, you could always get the glitch in 3 cycles. He also refined Baroness von Bonbon. This fight features 3 mini-bosses selected out of a pool of 5. There's 60 possible combinations.
Jesus.
Ron relearned every option with Lobber and Spread, figuring out the optimal way to play every single scenario.
Some of these would really, like, sometimes you get lucky and sometimes they really just kick your shit in, man.
It was still slower than the old route, but the gap was shrinking. He'd already made up 27 of the 50 seconds. Grond wasn't sure if he could take it the rest of the way, but he wanted to try. And over the next couple months, it started to get close.
God, a couple months to shave off 50 seconds. Like, that's why I could never be a speedrunner, man. Even if I had the skill, I want to be able to do that.
Yes, there it is. Yes, okay.
God, his music choice is always so amazing.
Oh, we did it, dude. We freaking golden it, dude. Sub 30, man.
Soon, TM, soon. Alright, from 50 to 10. Minus 30 on Phantom Express. Holy shit, minus 32 on King Dice? Bro.
Yes, dude. 29-23, dude.
This was the culmination of an enormous effort in research and execution. Grond had set a
Holy
massive
shit.
world record. Indisputable proof that the Lobber and Spread route was the way to go, despite having to spend nearly a minute at the start collecting coins.
Beat the
Grond was
record by
pretty
like 30.
adamant that
Oh
he
my
was
god.
done.
Or no,
He had
20.
an
20.
incredible story arc in this game, practically inventing a new route and now getting a world record with it. At this point, there wasn't much motivation to continue, but maybe SBD Wolf could egg him on. In December, SBD Wolf started messing with the Lobber and Spread route, and just like Grond, he found it to be the faster option. He set a new personal best of 29:45, then continued with attempts to get the world record back. SBD Wolf and Grond helped each other.
I'm curious to see what
and as
the
they
final
did,
time is
more
going to be.
runners began adopting the Lobber and Spread route. But it was SBD Wolf who closed in, and just after the new year, he came through with a new world record of 29:21.
Guys, more records. Done.
In this run, SBD Wolf saved big time on Hildeberg. This is a flying level in Aisle 1. Hilda sways back and forth through the fight, and the idea is to use EX attacks when she's moving right so that she travels with it and takes more damage.
Oh shit.
When she charges forward, runners intentionally take damage so they can fire an EX attack that hits her over and over. In Grond's run, he accidentally took damage on a parryable, which meant he couldn't intentionally take damage later and it threw the rest of the fight off.
Oh,
SBD
wow.
Wolf capitalized on the time save. After this
One
run,
hit.
SBD Wolf looked to play other categories, and he also started focusing on Castlevania speedrunning, where he'd eventually claim the world record. So he moved on from playing any percent 1.1 speedruns. But Grond, on the other hand, was nowhere near done. The torch had been passed. SBD Wolf was way ahead, but now Grond had fully caught up. And just
It's
days
so
after
crazy
the
that in
29-21,
speedrunning, 2 seconds is
Ron took
considered
the
way
record
ahead.
back with a 29:10.
We did it! All right, world record reclaimed.
The most notable
What
split
the
in this
fuck?
run was
Over
Baroness.
10 seconds?
He got Cupcake, Waffle, Candy Corn, one of the fastest patterns, much faster than SPD Wolf split, which got Jawbreaker, Cupcake, and Gumball. In general, Waffle
Yeah,
is
that's
super
an awful
fast,
route,
so
actually.
you want that to be one of the three. Suddenly, just 11 seconds from the next minute barrier, Grand pushed onward. He grinded
Yeah,
off
now he
and
wants
on
to sub
all through the
29,
month of
obviously.
January, while also searching for faster ways to defeat bosses. One thing he discovered was tech called flick lobbers. Instead of holding down the fire button to repeatedly shoot lobbers, you manually tap it so that you can face away from the enemy between shots.
Oh.
It's useful on fights like Werner Werman, where you need to repeatedly move away from the boss but still want to damage him. Now officially going
I
for
thought it was
sub
gonna be, like,
29,
a little
on
bit
February
faster.
8th, Grand got one so close. It
Purple
clocked
tunnel,
in at
baby.
29 minutes flat. Just one more second until the next minute barrier. Then a couple weeks later,
What the
he had
fuck,
an up
bro?
and down run. He got a good Baroness pattern, but lost time on Beppy Glitch. He got good RNG on Rumor Honeybottoms, but lost time down the stretch in Aisle 3. This type of run is so common in Cuphead, it's hard to get everything to line up. But then, he golded King Dice, saving another 4 seconds. Grand was freaking out.
Oh my god, dude, this might actually be it.
Just one fight left to go, the Devil.
He has less
We
than a
haven't
minute?
talked about him yet, but he
Or
has one
a
last
little bit more than a
enormous
minute?
roadblock right at the very end of the run. For starters, he's extremely random, more than
Yeah.
just about any other boss. In Phase 1, there's several attacks he can throw, including the clap and the parryable attack with bubbles. But through all this, there's one massive piece of RNG. At some point during the phase, it's very likely you'll either get the spider attack or the serpent attack. Both attacks have subsets of RNG within them, but in general, you really want to get the serpent.
Yeah, it looks
not
like
the
he's
spider.
do a lot more
The
damage,
serpent
right?
either comes out from the left or right side with fairly straightforward RNG. The spider is unpredictable. It bounces a random number of times, randomly lands in different spots, and more. It's so hard to make a game plan. In general, the spider is at least a 6 to 7 second time loss over the serpent. It's 50-50 which one you'll get.
Oof.
So at the very end of the run, there's basically a coin flip as to whether or not you make it. And
Wow.
that's just phase 1. You then jump down a hole and there's a brief cutscene
That
animation where Cuphead
sucks.
stares in awe before phase 2 begins. If you pause and unpause, then use an EX, you can shoot and move during this animation. The Geo Buffer. So on this pace with sub 29 on the line, Grand had a lot to think about. The Devil opened with some normal attacks, and then the moment of truth. Was this spider or serpent?
Oh my gosh. It's happening, guys. It's happening. Dude, I did it! Heck yeah, man!
This was another satisfying run for Grand.
Wow.
He got the goal he was looking for, broke another minute barrier, and now that SPD Wolf
Wow.
wasn't playing anymore, the next closest runner was a minute behind.
That's
With the sub
crazy.
29 achieved, Grand moved to play other games, and the community died down once again. These types of periods are normal in speed games. Sometimes there's
But
a rush of activity and it
there's
seems like everyone's
Half an hour
playing.
left, so we're
Other
far from
times,
over.
Everyone's on a break at the same time, and there's no real competition for the record. The latter was definitely true in the spring of 2019. Grand's 2853 was an amazing run, and now that glitches had been allowed for several months, it was less exciting and new. But in mid-April 2019, this period of inactivity came to an abrupt end. Because that's when the developers released yet another patch for Cuphead, version 1.2. Speedrunners were looking forward to this update, but were soon disappointed. Version 1.2 removed a lot of glitches. They patched out double damage lobber EXs, got rid of the ability to clip through objects, and changed various hitboxes. 16 months ago, when the game went from 1.0 to 1.1, it worked out well from a speedrunning perspective. Major glitches were patched, so runners were forced to come up with new tech. But 1.1 to 1.2 took it a bit too far. That cool tech was now removed, and it made fights last longer. It was a fine update for casual players, but speedrunners didn't know what to do. There was a big debate over how to deal with version 1.2. The end result was it became its own category. No
Oh,
major
shit.
glitches, where in addition to the patched out tricks, stuff like Beppy glitch and Luigi swaps were also banned. So now, 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2 each had their own categories.
Wow.
And of the three,
that's crazy.
The one that developed the most momentum was 1.1, because in mid-2019, Jason 2890 came back to the category. Jason was a Cuphead legend. He'd held the 1.0 record in 2018 and recently set the 1.2 record as well. The only record he hadn't held was 1.1, where he currently sat in 3rd place behind Grand and SBD Wolf.
A minute, bro.
Careful
A
viewers
minute.
might have noticed
Jason!
earlier in this video. Cuphead runners are some of the most collaborative I've ever seen. Jason and Grand
when did they talk about you in this vid? At the end. You know, save the best for last.
And as a result, in late June,
What's up,
Jason
Kai?
took his PB straight from a 29.54 to a 29 flat.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Damn.
I actually almost got the sub 29.
He was actually on world record.
Kai, how you doing, buddy?
But he took
What's
a
up?
slower route on King Dice and made some mistakes.
I've played
So,
Streets of Rage
Jason
4.
had to
I
keep
did
going.
briefly, I
He
believe.
played all through
That was the one on Game
and in
Pass?
August, he took the 1.1
Why do you
record
ask?
for the first time
Also,
ever.
did you ever get
with a
Infamous done?
28.49.
Or Injustice?
At this point, Grand and Jason were talking with each other
I
constantly,
want to uninstall it.
sharing new strats and pointing out optimizations that they had found. Their focus was less on who held the record and more on discovering as much as they possibly could to save time. They found small improvements on Cagney Carnation, Hilda
Yeah, hopefully you're having a good
Calamaria,
one.
and more. These two were on another level when it came to Cuphead, and as a result of their collaboration, they decimated the world record throughout 2019.
Decimated.
Yes! 2844.
Yes.
And then the game Absalom, it fucking slaps? Hell yeah. Bro.
Hey, we did it. 28, we still got it, dude. Hey, we did it. Oh my god.
They just kept going. Every few weeks, one of them got a new improvement.
What
There
the
were a few
fuck?
minor techniques, but most of this was just Jason and Grand pushing each other. Generally, these were very small improvements to the record, but this was nothing compared to the run that Jason got on November 13th, 2019. The run really started on Hildeberg, where he got an excellent 103. He then got a solid pattern with a waffle on Baroness, nailed Beppy glitch, and got good luck with the clouds on Grim Matchstick. Jason had an unreal 17-second lead over his personal best. This was on pace for a 28-1x, an enormous world record. After a gold on Dr. Call, Jason faltered a bit, but still maintained a 15-second lead with just one fight to go, the Devil. It was all going to come down to the grand decision, Serpent or Spider. Despite getting Spider, Jason's lead was so massive that he still broke the record.
Shadow, it's
It
me,
was
the
just
devil.
a 28-2x instead of a 28-1x. Grand and Jason both took note of this pace. In their minds, 28-1x would be the ultimate goal of Cuphead. And as friendly as their rivalry was, they did both want to reach it first.
Obviously.
Jason said in the description of his 28-29 that he might take a break, but it really didn't last long. Only slightly behind the record, going into the Devil, comparing against a run that got the Spider. If he got the Serpent right now, this could be 28-1x. Just terrible luck. Twice now, he was on 28-1x pace at the Devil, and he lost the 50-50
Damn.
both times. A few weeks later in December, Jason finally got the Serpent.
He took a
but it
shiz
was
break,
after a very
aka
slow
3 hours
phase
until he
one where
cancels the
took
break.
Damage, missed
Yeah.
shots, and bled a lot of time.
That
A new
happens.
world record, but not quite the 28-1x. Despite the lackluster end, Jason was very satisfied with this run. He was truly happy with how he'd played, outside of a brief moment on the Devil. Even though he didn't have the arbitrary milestone of 28-1x, did it really matter? This was the exact type of run he was looking for. Jason decided to step back and leave it to Grand, who continued his grind for a few weeks. He used all the strategies that he and Jason had worked together to develop over the past several months. And on January 17th, 2020, it paid off with the greatest world record in Cuphead history. Grand saved big time on Wally Warbles and never looked back. He got great RNG all the way through with very few mistakes. And at the end on the Devil, Grand managed to hold it together despite realizing the luck he was getting.
What is this? Dude, what the frick was that devil, dude? We got that. Oh
Damn.
2813.
Like
Oh my
10
God,
seconds.
dude.
Holy
There it
shit.
was, Cuphead's ultimate world record. Over the past year, Jason and Grand had pushed each other so much that they'd run away with the category.
What the fuck?
They were a full minute ahead of anybody else. These guys were able to get times on fights that nobody else could even come close to. And the end result was this record, a 28-13 that Grand officially said.
That's what I'm saying, Mark.
was ultimately
Step
deserved
mistakes.
by both runners.
In my speedrun?
What they did through the second half of 2019 was remarkable, but it wasn't to last.
You tried
Because
turning the
after
controller on, bro?
28-13, both runners were done. They'd had their fun and were ready to turn it over to somebody else. But
I think I
was
got
there
like a
anybody else
25-21 or
waiting?
something. I don't remember. It was just like another day in the office, you know what I mean? The big gap. There you go.
Up until now, 1.1 speedruns had sort of been the secondary category, while 1.0 runs were considered the main speedrun of Cuphead. However, that gradually changed, as more and more runners wanted to play 1.1. It was a perfect balance between having lots of tech, while not being completely broken. Throughout 2021 and 2022, 1.1 exploded in popularity, and eventually overtook 1.0 as the main
the music is so
category
good.
on speedrun.com. Now, lots of speedruns had popularity boosts during this time, as people suddenly had a lot more time on their hands. But Cuphead 1.1 is an extreme example. In just a couple years, it went from 87 runners to over 300.
Holy shit.
This could be due to popular games done quick runs, tutorials that Grand made, or the fact that the game just remained culturally relevant. The game also came out on other
Yeah, that
platforms
helps.
that didn't allow down patching, which
People
made it
still
harder to play
talk about
1.0.
Cuphead and love Cuphead, you know?
But whatever the cause, the
It's not like a normal game that 3 months later people forget it came out.
1.1 was the premier category of Cuphead, which was now a very popular speed game. And yet, despite this,
Helps that the game is good.
Bronze 2813 still remained on top.
Oh,
more than
hand drawn.
30
I mean,
months after
why do
it
I
was
want to play a
set.
game that was like
There
drawn
were
on a
more than
napkin, you know what I
200
mean?
new runners, but nobody could beat either Grand or Jason, still holding down
don't
the
see any
number
pores
one
on
and number
Cuphead,
two
that's all I'm
spots in
saying.
late 2022. It was a testament to what these guys accomplished back in 2019. Their run stood the test of time. This gap in the record timeline was pretty
Yeah, no, this game
unexpected
is
given the frequency
absolutely
of records in Cuphead's early
unbelievably
days.
impressive.
But still, there were a lot of active contenders, improving their skills and residing not far behind on the
I would go as far as
leaderboard.
saying it's one of the
If
most
one of them could
impressive
just
games
get
I've
that
ever played.
small amount
Probably.
better, they could separate from
Especially
the
'cause
pack
it was
and
such
make
a small
run at the
team.
world record. For many months, nobody could do that. But on August 1st, 2022,
insane.
someone submitted a 2816 to the leaderboard with one simple line in the description.
Right after Elon and
"I'm
the Divine
coming
Truth.
for you,
Yes, yes,
Obvious."
yes.
This is Clipboard Guy.
I knew it was going to be somebody new.
Clipboard Guy started running the game shortly after Grand's record was
Mind's
set in
eye.
January 2020. He
You
actually
missed a parry in
learned
the
from
tutorial. This
tutorials
guy's
that
not good
Grand
at the
made.
game. What do you mean?
Like many in the community, he gradually improved over the next couple years. By May 2021, he had a sub 30, and by that October, he had a sub 29, a distant third behind Jason and Grand. But he was the best.
Kai, did you see what
runner of the
happened to
game,
me yesterday, by the
and
way?
He had the
With
best
Little
chance of
Nightmares?
beating 2813. To help, he implemented a couple new strategies, both of which Jason found years earlier.
Same Kai, just for
The
like a meme
biggest was on
stream.
Phantom Express, a risky strategy called the cart push, allowing him to get up close without wasting as much time and saving a couple seconds. These time saves on the margins were super important. When going after a record as good as the 2813,
I heard tech issues. Yeah,
literally
my
every
PC
second
wasn't able to
matters.
run it and
And
stream
on
it at the same
October
time.
28th, 2022,
I was like,
it
fuck.
Clipboard
But
Guy
again,
got
like I
good
was
time
saying
saves on the
before,
flying levels, Hildeberg
at
and
least you could see
Calamaria,
everything from her
and
POV
did
and you could still hear me,
this.
so at least people were able to just watch her stream, but I was just like, fuck. We finally collab after like almost a decade of knowing each other, and then that happens.
After nearly
Oh, it was a
3
great
years of
time.
being on top, Grand's
I'm
2813
Gotta get you a 5090, that's what I'm
It took
saying.
a
I was actually
monumental effort from a
thinking
huge
about it,
group of
like, I
runners,
should check
and
on
ultimately,
Best Buy again,
Clipboard Guy
what
was
they
able
got.
to do it.
Because this
In
one that I
true
have now,
speedrunning
I
fashion,
financed
the community
for like a year,
immediately turned
I
their
guess, no,
attention
2
to the
years I
next
think, because I was paying like
milestone.
$100 a month.
They were now just 10
So I obviously
seconds
don't
away
have
from
just
the next
like
barrier.
a few
Sub
thousand
28. Sub
flying
30
around
came in
to buy a
2018.
PC.
Sub 29 came in
Realistically,
2019. Now
I
it
stream
was
console 99% of the time, and
there was
I
no sub
my
28.
PC obviously doesn't give a
It all
shit
comes
about
back
when I
to
do
the
that,
world
so.
record gap. New strategies were found in the last few years, but they were
It's just
pretty
weird because it's
minor.
like I still
And
keep
with
everything at
Ron,
1080
Jason,
60.
and SPD Wolf all stepping away in 2020.
For some reason,
it took
games are just
time for
like,
other
yeah,
runners
no,
to
but you
catch
need
up
more
to their
juice,
skill
even though
level.
you're doing the same thing.
But now with a minute barrier on the line, the stakes were higher than
I don't
ever.
know.
Of the three former
But yeah,
top
it was a great
runners,
time.
Jason and
I would have
SPD
not
Wolf
enjoyed
had
the game
no
as
interest in
much
returning
alone.
to the category. But Gron
And like I said,
was
with the type of
different.
game it was, I
He'd set
was
the first
glad
sub
to
29
make
4
that
years
decision
ago.
of
Returning
capping my
to
stream
set
but
the
continuing
first
the
sub
playthrough because it was so
28
fun.
would be pretty epic. He had his work cut out for him if he wanted to be clipboard guy there, but Grand wanted to go for it. So in 2023, for the
I
first
wonder
time
if this
in
is
more
going
than
to hit
3 years,
27.
Grand was back. With such a long time off, he had to relearn the route, as well as learn the minor developments that had been made since 2020. To help,
Especially 'cause
Grand
I'm
used the
keeping
practice
everything
hack
at
of the game
1080-60,
with
Sam.
RNG control built by SPD Wolf. It allowed him to better practice getting certain RNG on different fights, so he was more prepared for any situation the game gave him, especially the rare ones.
Oh, hell yeah,
As he
DDA.
got back into
Hopefully you had a
shape,
good time.
Grand set a few records on individual fights, getting ready to go.
I have
for the
a I have a
full game
2060 Super.
But
I don't even
during
know what
his
an entry
practice,
level or mid level
it
is
was
anymore. I know
Clipboard Guy
5090
who
is
got
the
the
top,
next
but I don't know
chance.
what's considered
He pulled
the
ahead of the record in Grim
mid
Matchstick,
or-
then continued with a good Dr. Call.
or what.
After Werner Werman in aisle 3, he was officially on his best pace ever. He then entered the very random Briny Beard. He'll do 3 attacks.
Yeah,
in
I might.
phase
I don't
one.
know.
He can either fire his
50
gun
so
or
50
call in
series.
an animal attack. Squid, shark, or dogfish. The first attack
then
is
70
always
is mid
the
and-
gun, and the next 2 are 50-50 likely to be the gun or an
90 is
animal
top?
attack. Gun attacks are generally faster, while
That's the thing.
dogfish is
2,500 bucks is
worst
like
because
literally
you
how
have
much
to
I
wait a
paid for
long
my
time.
PC, not just the
Clipboard Guy
GPU.
got 2 guns and then
Bruh.
dogfish, so he gave back a little bit of time. But then he got a gold split on King Dice. His best,
but especially
possible
now that I have a
time going into
PlayStation,
the devil
having to
was
play
a
games on PC
27:59.9.
has been reduced
Time
a lot.
for the moment of truth: serpent or spider.
70 mid to 80 is high, 90 is top.
He got the serpent, but with this borderline pace, he needed to go for one more thing: the devil freeze. If you deal enough damage during the geo buffer animation to move to the 3rd phase of the fight, the game stops the screen scroll and essentially breaks the devil fight.
The fuck?
His animations still play, but he doesn't attack and tears don't drop down. But importantly, stopping the screen scroll early lets the devil's hitbox be closer to the platforms than normal. This means you can land double damage lobber EXs and end the fight faster. However, going for the devil freeze is super risky. If you over damage him and transition past phase 2 before going down the hole, the game soft locks and you can't beat the fight. So on this pace, getting the sub 28 required hitting the devil freeze. Despite the risk of soft locking, Clipboard Guy had to go for it.
Not quite enough. Wow. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but because I could have gotten double glitch there, and if I did, that probably would have been sub 28. But still,
Fuck.
a really good run.
It just wasn't quite enough damage. The sub 28 would have to wait. But the blueprint for such a run was now in place. Players needed a fast enough run going into the devil, and then they needed the serpent pattern plus the devil freeze. If any of these 3 things weren't in place, then sub 28 was just about impossible. Clipboard Guy and Grand were the only active runners with the potential to do this.
You know what I love
It
about
was
these
a race
videos
to
though
see who
is
could get everything lined up first.
it's this crazy, and then it's like flash to a year after this, and it's like this runner missed all 3 of these things, but they saved 48 seconds, and it's like, what the fuck?
Right, man. That minion it's totally messed me up.
That sucks, bro. Get to the very end and it just Spider.
It's a world record. It's not
What's
the
up,
sub 28,
Fabix?
But I got record with Spider, man. I'll freaking take it.
How's it going? Alright, we got Serpent.
Oh my god.
Save 20 milliseconds, right?
I actually got it.
I haven't watched this
There was
video
always
yet, but
something
looking forward to
missing.
it. It's good.
Either
It's
the
really
spider
fun.
pattern or a
Like all
missed
Summoning Salt
freeze.
videos, it's really
And
good.
now that Grand had finally
And I'm
gotten
doing good.
both in a run,
Been a fun
it
stream.
just happened to be on a pace that was too slow for sub 28. There seemed to be no way around it. It had to be a good run with a really good devil. Well, on August 16th, 2023, Grand got a run going that I would say definitely qualifies as a good pace into the devil.
Kai, real. Also, Kai, you want to see something? One of my controllers got stick drift, so I got a new controller. You like it? Aye. Isn't it pretty?
Let's go, dude.
There it is, 27, baby.
28.
As it turns out, the pace was so good that despite an awful pattern, Grand was still...
Oh shit, and he got a spider.
He'd really gotten just about everything. A good Baroness
46
pattern,
minute
a Peppy glitch,
run
good Grim
incoming.
Matchstick and Rumor Honeybottom's luck, a great Briny Beard pattern, plus so much more. And as the celebration began for yet another minute barrier broken, Grand knew he wasn't done. There was a glaring 12-second time loss on the devil. There was potential to do so much better.
Every time.
Both Grand and Clipboard Guy had to keep going.
He was the
Trying
first
to match
person in
his pace
7
into
years
the
to hit
devil was
27
gonna be
minutes,
tough.
but he knew that
So
23
Grand
was
looked
possible.
to really further optimize each individual fight. One thing that helped was DPS improvements, making sure he was maximizing damage dealt at all times. He worked on managing
yeah.
the cooldown, the time between weapon shots, so that even when he did a Calva swap, he could always ensure a lobber shot would pop out just before the EX. It made only a few frames of difference in damage, but it could add up to several seconds across the run if properly managed. Grand also
Yeah,
figured
I feel like
something
that's
out for one of the
dangerous
toughest
typos.
fights, Phantom Express. We
Typo
haven't talked
potential,
about
you know?
this fight yet. It's the third to last boss in the run,
Joe-
just before King Dice and the Devil.
Never mind.
And it's notable for not having the over damage mechanics that most other fights have. Damage does not carry over between phases. A crucial moment in the fight comes in phase 2. Here, the conductor comes out of the train.
I just
and you
remembered
want to
how I
defeat him
once did
before he
an
finishes
intro
his
scene
attack
where I
and
was in
goes
one of
back
these
the
fucking train windows.
Ideally without taking damage. If you can't, you lose at least a couple
Holy
seconds.
shit, I totally forgot about that.
It's very difficult to one-cycle the conductor. You essentially can't miss any shots through the whole sequence. Then on top of that, if the first pumpkin spawns on the left, you're forced to damage boost to get the one cycle, leaving you with just 1 HP for the dangerous phase 4. But in October 2023, Grand found a simple solution to this. He could briefly move the cart over, then quickly back to center. It cost about a third of a second, in exchange for not losing the HP and having a much smaller chance of dying.
gotta do
when you're
quote
in the
shot.
fight. Cuphead is full of these tiny consistency boosts that in a vacuum don't seem like much, but it's when you add them all up that they really start to shine. Optimizing weapon cooldown, avoiding 1 HP of damage, these small improvements helped Grand get more paces into the
God,
devil.
Pog Crazy
But
is
as
so
adamant as
good.
Grand was that the record could go lower, at the end of the day, he was still at the mercy of RNG.
Yeah, Sam, that and I once
September
I remember
14th,
Lightspeed saw it before I edited
Grand's
it.
on another
I
good
typed the
run.
word like
He
too
gets
fast.
a good Baroness pattern, good luck on Rumor Honeybottoms, and a gold split on Dr. Call. Then on Phantom Express,
And
he gets the one
made
cycle
a typo
in phase
and
2.
edited it, and Lightspeed was
It's
like,
all
whoa!
lining up. Grand has a 7-second lead into the devil, but you know what time it is.
I was like, Joe, don't shoot.
Dang it, man.
Sheesh.
Still a small record, but once again there was no serpent. A month later, it was a similar story. A few seconds ahead into the devil, with potential for a big record if he could get serpent.
Bro, this guy's the worst. His luck is like mine. Jesus.
I'm so sick of this game.
In November, Grand had a run with some
I mean, yeah, he's
notable
losing his hair
flaws.
over it.
He got
Poor
hit
guy.
at the start of both Grim Matchstick and Cala Maria, and got worse RNG on Briny Beard.
See,
For
look,
once,
this is the
He
run.
was behind into the
Everything is
devil.
shit, and this is
So,
the record.
of course, this is the run he finally got serpent.
Just kill him.
Every
Okay,
fucking video,
I'll
bro.
take it, man.
These
It
poor
just
guys.
wasn't fair. Of course, Grand was happy he broke the record, but he once again didn't have everything line up. It still wasn't quite the run he was looking for. Over the next couple weeks, Grand set a couple more small world records. Just a few months ago, he was practically retired from the category. Now, he was unstoppable. He'd set 9 world records in a row, taking the time down from 28:03 to 27:45. With this level of domination, it's easy to forget, but Grand wasn't the only record contender. Clipboard Guy was still playing.
Oh shit,
his
okay.
personal best was 27:54, and his goal was a 27:4x. As Grand kept lowering the record, the gap between the two players increased. But Clipboard Guy knew what he was capable of. On November 29th, he got a 6:58 aisle 1, meaning he was ahead of the record by 1 second. It continued in aisle 2. He got Beppy Glitch, along with really good RNG on Grim Matchstick. Entering aisle 3,
X isn't a number,
Clipboard Guy
talking
was
about
14
an
seconds ahead
impossible
of his
goal.
personal best. He started to
damn it.
falter a bit. He missed 2 EXs on Rumor Honeybottoms and slowly bled time over the
This
next
guy
couple
sucks. Get him out
fights.
of here.
But then, Briny Beard just kept shooting over and over. A great pattern, a great fight, and Clipboard Guy was on an unreal
White
pace.
Palace?
He tried to stay calm, but he
The
knew
White
this
House
was
is
a
in this
ridiculous
game?
chance. Phantom Express was going to be a huge moment in this run. One of the hardest fights, with the pressure mounting. Phase 1 was straightforward as he quickly took out the Ghost. In Phase 2, he tried to 1-cycle the Conductor, but his DPS wasn't good enough, so he had to settle for the 2-cycle.
Pain.
Yet he kept an extra HP into Phase 4, and he played beautifully to get the 1-cycle on the train. It wasn't a perfect split, but on this pace it was more than good enough. He made it to the Devil nearly 21 seconds ahead of his personal best.
Holy shit.
He could get as fast as a 27:34
White
here.
Palace is what I call my
Even
dealer's
if he
house.
bled 11 seconds on the Devil, he could still break the world record. Clipboard Guy was
For legal
absolutely
reasons, this is a
feeling
joke
the
and I don't
pressure.
have a dealer.
It was time
Thank
to
you.
go. He played Phase 1 of the Devil, not sure what to expect.
Thank you for taking care of yourself, I mean.
The spider hurt, but it was okay. He still had the lead. He had to stay locked in. Time for the Devil Freeze. He set up the exact right amount of damage with lobber shots. This was precisely enough for the Devil Freeze to work. But then, he second-guessed himself. Clipboard Guy fired one more shot. Soft lock. Run over. It's crazy how you can play nearly perfectly for 27.5 minutes.
Bro.
But one extra shot and it
Bro.
all comes crashing down. It's rare to get good enough luck through the run to get a chance at the world record, so whenever you do get it, the pressure massively ramps up. And it's incredibly easy to mess up once you realize you've gotten the luck. And if you do, you have to play over and over waiting for it to show up again. It really was a cruel metagame. Meanwhile, Grand was still playing for a 27-3x, but he too was down on his luck. He had that huge streak of spiders on the Devil, and in general, he was frustrated with RNG. Grand wondered if
as
maybe
long as
the
it didn't
grind wasn't
spoil,
worth
you
it
know?
anymore. Perhaps he should have stopped after the sub 28. And now seeing what Clipboard Guy could do, it would be easy to step aside and let him get the record. But instead, just a few days later,
I felt physically
Ron made it all a
dirty
moot point when
saying
he set
that.
his self-described ultimate run
Jesus
of Cuphead.
Christ. We have to laugh, lad. We have to laugh.
The Discord server freaked out when they saw this 27:33.
Yeah, I remember that.
Grand had overshot his
remember
goal
that.
by
Box.
6 seconds. This was even faster than the pace Clipboard Guy was on a few days earlier. Grand started this run with the best aisle 1 ever performed, a ridiculous 6:50, and he just kept it going. He was on his best pace ever for 18 out of the 20 splits in this run. The biggest time saves were on Cagney and Rumor. On the Devil, he got the Serpent and didn't get
I almost
the Devil
got a
Freeze, but
Cagney
more
Carnation
importantly, he didn't soft lock.
Funko or whatever one time, but I do have the devil. Look.
Yes, dude! Oh my god!
Sure.
One other little thing that helped Grand, he was really good at star skip. After finishing a level, if you press A on the same frame that the stars start to be counted, both stars will appear at once instead of one after another. Runners usually try to mash and hit it since there's no good cue. Grand worked very hard on his mashing technique to improve the chance that he hit it.
Bro.
Eventually, he got to average 20 presses per second, meaning he'd hit star skip fairly often. This 27:33 was a huge triumph for Grand.
2,200
He'd overcome
hours!
mental agony to get this far, and he'd finished it off with the run of his dreams. While the recent record timeline looks really clean for him, that wasn't the reality of the situation. He'd nearly lost the record on multiple occasions, and his own mental struggles were present the whole way. But he stuck with it, he made it through, and ended with a ridiculous world record. Grand was finally done.
Chapter 5, The Return. Oh, I thought it was gonna be like the new kid.
It's now 2024, and this is the state of the Cuphead leaderboard. Grandius has a huge lead. Clipboard Guy is in second place, but not actively running the game. And beyond that, nobody's
Just feeling
even
to send my
close.
messages.
It's a mix of inactive runners from years ago and
trying to
modern runners
silence
who
you,
are
lad.
good, but not on world record level. There wasn't much hope in beating Grand's 27:33, and so nothing changed through the first half of 2024.
But then
In July, a runner named Mr. Butter became the third member of the Sub-28 club, getting a time of 27:55.
here it comes. Here it comes.
However, he didn't pursue a lower time, so he wasn't really a threat to the record.
Oh,
In August, a runner named Quinsley got a huge PB of 27:40, knocking Clipboard Guy out of second place.
what the
But
fuck?
Quinsley couldn't beat his time either, as his run was a massive PB for him. Perhaps to take it the rest of the way, Cuphead needed a runner with a bit more experience. Someone like SBD Wolf. That month, a local gaming convention near SBD Wolf was looking for speedrunners to perform live. He thought Cuphead would be a good run to showcase, so he started practicing for it. SBD Wolf hadn't played the category in more than 5 years. His personal best of 29:21, once a world record, was now in 19th
Oh my
place.
god, dude.
But even though he hadn't been actively playing, he'd still watched Grand and others over the past few years, so he had an idea
Was that his
of
face
new
reveal?
strategies and techniques. He worked on implementing them, and his personal bests started to drop. 28:48, 28:26,
Washed. Get him out of here.
13.
Get him out of
He played
here.
live at the convention, but decided he wanted to keep going. 28:03, 28:01,
Kai, I got you.
27:51. What SBD Wolf was doing was
I'm part of the
He
Crystal
hadn't
Club
played in
myself.
years, since back in the days when Lobber and Spread
why
was
is it-
brand new and really basic.
Why is
He
it
had learned 5 years of advancements in a couple months.
the
And he
power?
was back to being a world record contender. But he had to act fast. Rond was considered the
power!
world's best player, and he could come back at any moment to defend his record. If SBD Wolf wanted to snag the world record, he had to do it right now. He began comparing against the world record in his splits, and it all came down to a run on November 20th, 2024.
I saw that today,
SBD
Kai.
Wolf fell a bit behind early.
Saw
and he
Jam
accidentally
Cross
took
react to
damage
it,
on Wally, which prevented the fastest kill.
Fucking Super
But
Saiyan
he
4
had a fast
Goku.
Beppy glitch to pull back even. The world record had a really good
Have you
Boomer
watched
Huddy
Daima?
bottom, so he lost time there, but a good
I watched it
grinding
recently.
pattern made up that time.
I still have-
And a
I still
gold
watched a bunch
split
of
on
shit
King
while I'm
Dice
home.
Put him in the lead. This was
I,
it.
like
Just
and
the
or
double
season
to go.
2 and like.
If SBD Wolf got Spider, then he couldn't break the record, but would still be able to get a
But
large personal best.
Dragon Ball Daima, the first
But if
half
he got Serpent,
of the season is
followed
dog
by the
shit.
Double freeze,
But the
he'd be
second
able to
half is
knock
so
off
fire.
Grand. Time for the moment of truth.
Even though I got all the major stuff spoiled. I've not seen Daima. Do you plan on it? Or do you want me to tell you some cool shit? Do you know like the premise of it? Okay, Chet, you know the deal. I'm gonna put the spoiler overlay. If you haven't seen Dragon Ball Daima and you plan on it, mute me
I knew it was not gonna get record. That's a freaking good run.
and
oh my god.
unmute
He
me
got
when
the
it
serpents,
goes
but
down.
a bad
Yeah,
pattern
Goku's
that
kids, so they
getting
get
the
turned
double
into kids or
freeze was
whatever.
impossible.
But
he still beat
all
his
of the
run
major
by a
shit I got
mile,
spoiled.
but fell just short of the
first
world
time
record.
Vegeta goes Super Saiyan
Things
3.
were looking really tight at the top.
Super
of the
Saiyan 4
leaderboard,
Goku canon.
and that put the pressure.
I was
on
like,
Grand.
bro.
If he wanted to hang on to his record,
And my favorite
he had to come
character
back and
is just
figure out
some
where he could save
random
time.
fucking
So he
NPC.
started practicing
It was
again.
so funny.
And over the last year, Grandius has embarked on a journey in 1.1 speedruns, working on new strategies and pouring in attempts to lower the world record.
But it was so sick. So that's why when I saw the fighters thing, I was like, bro.
Alright, whatever, I'll take it.
A big change he made was focusing heavily on the spider. He spent hours mapping out all 20 spider patterns and their offsets, figuring out the optimal way
Give
to
this
recognize and
motherfucker a
play each
snake, bro.
scenario.
Give him a
He
serpent.
found ways to
This
make
poor guy
certain spider
spent more
patterns
time fighting
only
a
a small
spider
time loss.
than I've
Not as good
stringed.
as serpents, but not automatically run over.
Yeah, it was like Super Saiyan 4 Goku and a balance patch, right? It wasn't so much new shit, just one character, I think.
He also heavily grinded individual level records.
I think the
He'd
balance
done
patch
this
is
in
the big thing.
past too, but this time he took it to a new level. At one point, he managed to hold all 19 world records using the in-game timer.
Let's go! You go! What? No shot!
And boy, did Grand work on new strategies. He went for a more consistent clip in forest volleys that allowed him to get more runs going. He implemented a more consistent strategy on Goopy, first used by a runner named Michael. There were many small half a second to a second time saves that added up across the run.
Yes, dude, I clutched it! The freaking 1x!
27 1x.
There were also some
Shout out
collaborative
Michael.
efforts. Grand, SPD Wolf, and Mr. Butter worked together to optimize all 60 patterns on Baroness. Mr. Butter in particular wrote out a flowchart explaining exactly what to do depending on which mini-bosses you got, and showing how fast each combination was. Grand used this to his advantage.
Let's go!
In late 2024, Grand took the record down to 27:19. He came back in the spring of 2025 and improved it to 27:16.
What? This year? Oh my god.
No way, we called it!
Grand has set the past 16 world records in Cuphead 1.1. It's been steady improvements over the past couple years, uninterrupted by any of Cuphead's other
Dude,
talented
Borderlands 4
writers.
is hard as fuck,
The
right,
last
Kai?
record set by someone other than Grandius was when Clipboard Guy got a 28:03. Now the record is down to 27:16. Is
Now
this
I'm like,
over? Is this just Grand's world record until the end of time? Well, I certainly don't think so. Recently, SPD Wolf has been making a push for the 1.1 record, and in September, he got a sub 27:30.
oh god, Kai,
just
I'm so
11
sorry.
seconds off
I
the
hope you
record.
enjoyed the main game though.
And ahead of
That was the
him
only part I
are both
liked.
Clipboard Guy and Quinsley.
Now I'm
who
working
each
on
got
getting
personal
everybody to level
bests just a
50
few
for my
weeks
last
ago.
achievement.
That's 3
And I have to
runners
do
right
Ultimate
on
Vault
Grandius'
Hunter
tail.
mode to save time,
He
and
still
it's
has the
fucking
lead for
impossible
now, but that could
when
change at any
you
moment.
have shit
The
gear.
long reign of Grandius could soon come to an end.
Because you know, like the
This
contracts,
type of activity at the top of
Ultimate
the
Vault
leaderboard
Hunter has
hasn't been
vile
seen in
contracts, which do a
years.
lot more
But it
XP.
could be just
So
what Cuphead needs to
what I do is
eventually
I
make it to
load the
next
game
minute
in the
barrier.
safe house.
From the early days of Luigi,
If I don't have a
Soul Breath,
contract,
and
I reload the game.
all the
If I
way
do,
to
I go do the
Grandius'
contract, then
dominance
I
in the
save and
modern
quit,
era,
and I redo
Cuphead's
that
minute
for hours on
barriers
end.
always had significance. Each record
And it's still
holder,
faster than
every
anything
top
else. It
level
sucks.
runner,
I
has
hate
all
the game.
played a part in bringing the record to where it is today. These players and more will help take the speedrun to its next level, and the Cuphead 1.1 world record will live on for years to come. Thanks for watching. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring this video, available for free on mobile, console, and PC. Don't forget about the massive bonus pack for new players and those who haven't played in 6 months.
That was
Just
awesome.
click my links in the description or pinned comment below.
That was a fucking amazing video, man. Summoning Salt just doesn't miss, dude. It just doesn't miss. That was a banger. I was like, okay, it's Summoning Salt, it's Cuphead, this shit's gonna be crazy. And sure enough, it was. With that a spicy little like in it. And once again, if somehow you're not familiar, YouTube, please check out Summoning Salt. Lots of amazing games like this, videos like this about games and world records and stuff. Just amazing channel. That was awesome. Thanks for watching. Peace.